few.
Yeah.
And I think, and again, like just pointing it out there, I think this applies to both parties. I don't think it's particular
Absolutely.
to one.
Yeah.
For me, the first one is talking to your exes. That's a big one, right? And it's
Absolutely.
like, and I say this, and sometimes you mention like, yeah, like I don't want you talking to you, and like there are some things, and let's take men for an example, that is a direct correlation to insecurity. There are other things that's a direct correlation to respect. And I think sometimes there's a gray area between, and it's sort of like people don't know how to differentiate. And the example I use when it comes to talking to your ex is, you want me to come into your life and fill a particular role in that life. And how do you expect me to do that when you're still communicating or holding on to the person who used to fill that role? It's like, how do you make me feel, like, how do you want me to feel about you talking to someone who had a massive, massive role in your life, and now you expect me to fill that role? You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you have to explain it the right way. If you just say, I don't want you talking to your ex or whatever, and you pull a tantrum and you freak out, it looks insecure.
Absolutely.
However, sometimes it's not so much about what you're asking, but if you translate it the right way and communicate it the right way, and the person goes, oh, okay, he's asking this, but this is why he's asking it. And why he's asking it kind of makes sense. They're a lot more likely to sort of like understand you and actually respect your wishes. So for me, the first one is, definitely like, I think that, and it's again, it comes down to a respect thing. Like if I'm trying to start something new with you, how am I respecting you by still holding on to my past relationships? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, it comes down to how you translate it. If you just simply ask like, yeah, like you shouldn't be talking to your ex because, well, why? Because it's wrong. Well, why? And you'll go on to this circle. But you just explain, it's like, hey, I'm trying to fill a role in your life. How do you expect me to fill that role if you're still holding on to the old person who used to fill that role?
Yeah.
And if you translate it the right way, I think for the most part, it should be understood. I don't think it's a crazy one.
No, it's not a crazy one at all. But do you think it's like a certain like level of maturity too?
Absolutely. Like
You don't see this in like older women, man. Honestly.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. It's a level of maturity. And I think this whole like, I mean, geez, like there's this whole thing about like, and we kind of chatted about this earlier, where like we try to like demonize like masculinity. And of course it's like, I think for the most part, like there are certain things that like, sure, like we can have a conversation about certain like, like in regards to masculinity, maybe certain things need to be adjusted or changed or whatever for like to sort of accommodate today's time. But the point I'm making here is a lot of times like you're being jealous, you're being this, you're being that. When it's like, if you have that level of maturity, you actually realize that it's a lot, like it's more than just like what you just said.
Yeah.
And you're right. You typically don't see this. Like this is very common to like sort of, you have a relationship with someone, you move on to sort of just cut ties with that old person, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? But again, it comes to maturity because, if we look at a younger age demographic, they might not see it that way because they're just so used to like either being nice with everyone or friends with everyone. Life is a party. Life is like, you're supposed to have fun, which is true. But at what point does your fun come in the way of your relationship? And one of them needs to be sacrificed. Do you want to have fun and do whatever you want? Sure. But all the good guys, and this is the truth, all the good guys, they're not going to wait around for you to have all your fun. And then once you're ready, come back. There's no one waiting for you.
Absolutely.
And you kind of have to make a choice. And there's nothing wrong with the choice that you make. You know what I mean? There's
It's
nothing
your
wrong.
life,
It's
man.
your life. If you want to have fun and do whatever you want, then by all means, like, but you have to sort of accept that like it's a sacrifice. And if you're okay with that sacrifice, then by all means. And I'm sure that, there are, and I'm not saying that you'll never find love, but what I'm saying is if you have this ideal guy also has an ideal woman. So if you want to have the ideal guy, put yourself in a position where you're viewed as the ideal woman as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's sort of like, that's sort of like the way I see it. And again, going back to it, there's Jesus.
Whoa.
Sorry.
No worries.
Sorry about that.
No worries, man.
We should, hold on, let's turn this phone off. I was so deep into it. Now. We got ruined.
We're experiencing some technical
Yeah.
difficulties, ladies and
Sorry,
gentlemen.
guys.
No worries.
So yeah, the point I'm making with all that is like, if you're unable to sort of like see the pros and cons and recognize that one of these things needs a sacrifice, well, then you'll just end up being very disappointed later on in life. And
Yeah.
again, the reason why we don't see it, and I think perhaps we could be wrong, but let's say in general, we don't see it in like a older age demographic for women, it's because they recognize they probably made those mistakes in their early age, and now they realize that the sacrifice is not, it's
Yeah,
not
because
one
the
they
men
wanna
they're
make.
looking for are not going to fucking put up for them going out every weekend, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
It's
like-
not gonna happen. And if you miss the ride, if you miss your chance, that's it. Like
Yeah.
there's no like you're not. You have to be pretty fucking special for him to. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
100%.
there's less chances.
Right,
If you're
100%.
young and you're out there and you're good looking and stuff, the world is yours, man. But when you're at a certain age, you're replaceable. You know, that's what it is. You got to both ways, men and women. You have to fucking realize that at a certain point in life, you are replaceable. So when you find somebody that checks out all the boxes, maybe the little red flags or the little things that you would have, let go or let fly in past relationships. Maybe you learn to grow and you learn to live with it a little bit. You know what I mean?
You speak on the gang.